Now, we're getting into it, broder. The Detroit Lions versus the Seattle Seahawks. Look at that right there. 2023, both of them. Look at that. 1-0. Second, they should be first in the NFC North. That graphic should say first, in my opinion.
They're first in our hearts.
Yeah, they are. But the Seattle Seahawks 0-1. Tough start to the season, losing to the Rams. But we're going to preview this game a little bit. We're going to get into it, talk about Pete Carroll, talk about some matchups. The Seahawks, they've played 17 times. Seahawks leads the series 12-5. Lost, obviously, we all know that 2016 wild card game where we lost to the Seahawks. Last season, lost to the Seahawks 48-45. Broder.
Dude.
It's going to be, I think things are going to change here with Pete Carroll coming in. I know Pete Carroll's had the Detroit Lions number. Doesn't matter to me. I don't care.
This is a new Detroit Lions.
It's completely new team. I've said it 100 times this week. The Detroit Lions are going to make the Seahawks 0-2. And what's that percentage in everyone? 9% chance to make the playoffs after you go 0-2.
That's wild.
They're going to take a team out of the playoffs in the NFC in week 2.
The team that
took them out last year.
Yeah, took them out of the playoffs last year. That's amazing. They're going to be a little shorthanded on Sunday too. We knew that Abraham Lucas, their starting right tackle, was going to be out in the game against the Lions on Sunday, but a few more injuries were announced today. They'll officially be out. Jamal Adams, safety, who is coming back from a knee injury, he's out. Left tackle Charles Cross is officially out, battling turf toe. Defensive end Mike Morris, former University of Michigan defensive end Mike Morris, he'll be out for Sunday's game too. But on the Detroit side, we got hit with some tough news today.
We did.
Josh Paschal being out is a surprise. Also, Taylor Decker. Dan Campbell was in his press conference today was talking about Taylor Decker. It's not looking as likely as we thought that he was going to recover from his ankle injury that we saw. I believe it was Jared Goff rolled over his ankle in the Chiefs game early in Thursday's game against the Chiefs. So Taylor Decker will likely be out. Khalil Dorsey, our star special teams player, on Thursday, not Sunday, Thursday, he's going to be out. Emmanuel Mosley officially out.
What is Khalil Dorsey? Illness.
It's an illness.
He's
I don't know
sick all week.
I don't know what the illness is, but
that's weird.
He's going to be out. He's one of our top kick coverage players last week and our starting kick returner. So there's going to be a little bit of a battle of teams missing some of their pieces. Just off the cusp, Booner, are there any? Which team is maybe losing the most significant piece or pieces? Which would you be worried about if you were Pete Carroll or Dan Campbell?
I think it's obvious to say that the Seattle Seahawks have probably the biggest pieces out, which benefits the Detroit Lions a ton, especially like Jamal Adams not playing. That's one of the biggest ones. The offensive lineman, the tackles out.
Tyler Lockett.
Is Lockett out?
I'm pretty sure he's like hurt with something.
He's in a concussion protocol.
Yeah,
but he wasn't on the report.
Okay.
Midweek, it was looking like he was likely going to be back. He was in concussion protocol, so but I think that's always up in the air. Well,
they do have even outside of guys being out, they have guys that are beat up. JSN coming off that injury as well. Yeah. Devon Witherspoon coming off an injury, and he hasn't even played a game yet, and he hasn't even been at camp until a couple days ago.
Yeah. Doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and 3 toes. I will beat your ass.
What he just said, Dan Campbell just said, we don't care who's on the field. We don't care. We're still going to try. They're going to go win that game. But the more interesting one to me on there is obviously the Taylor Decker one.
Yeah.
Him being out. We did say yesterday that we do feel like that no matter what, he probably wouldn't play. Like it just had that feeling leading up to it. Not Khalil Dorsey, Josh Paschal. Were you at Allen Park today?
I wasn't down there today.
Okay. Did you hear anything on what was going? Like,
no, they haven't revealed like what is wrong.
That's the
There's speculation of a hernia. Like it was, he might be out for some time, but not a season-ending injury. It's a little speculation we got to take into this. I hope, and I know some of the shows earlier in the day were talking. They referenced Brad Holmes, and we had the medical conversation a couple nights ago. When you draft players out of college, the chances of them being injured in the NFL are likely higher. So we hope this isn't something that's a chronic injury or something reoccurring. And
it does worry me.
Yeah,
the fact that no one knows what it is, they're not saying anything.
True.
And they're just like, hey, and Dan Campbell even said today he might be out long term.
Yeah.
And it was the same. I don't know if you guys heard it, the press conference with Taylor Decker when he asked them the questions, and someone said, "Is it a long-term thing?" And he said, "It potentially could be."
Yeah, that's a surprise to me. Taylor Decker's played through injuries before, and I mean, ankle injuries, especially for an offensive player, tackle, is important. But I don't know. He's a tough guy. If he's out, there's definitely a serious injury. It's definitely serious enough for him to be out. He's one who would play through it, like his teammates Frank Ragnow and the other guys.
He's done it before.
He has.
And the only reason Dan Campbell said it might be like a little longer is just because it's like a lingering injury that makes me think like it's a bad rolled ankle or whatever it was, and if you play on it, it's just going to make it worse and worse and worse. So
maybe the Lions are finally in the situation where they're confident enough that near the end of the season, they know they're going to be in the mix. They're going to be competing for whether it's the NFC North or the NFC title. So they don't want to take the chances earlier in the season, even if it means sacrificing some of that firepower. But fortunately, the Lions have a pretty deep offensive line, at least the first 6-7 players. There's speculation of who's gonna start at left tackle. Are they going to move Penei Sewell over to the left side? Are they going to move Vaitai from right guard to right tackle and bring Glasgow off of the bench? Or are they just going to start Matt Nelson at left tackle? We'll see.
I'm starting to get to the point to where Matt Nelson's going to start.
I think so.
And I do think it was worrisome. We said it yesterday that, like, he was part of that depth on the preseason where we were all like, oh, this offensive line's bad. He has started a game for the Lions. He started 11 games 2 years ago for the Detroit Lions. He played in 10 games last year for them.
Yeah.
So like he's played, like, he has that experience. It's a downgrade, yes, but with that offensive line you already have 4 guys on that outside of Taylor Decker who are dogs.
Possibly all pro consideration type guys, maybe second, third team for some of them, but you're so right. With this though, and also Denver Blair, I'm Ron Burgundy? ? With that, what are some matchups that you're looking for? We talked briefly yesterday, but is there anything that's standing out to you? You want to see the Seattle this go against the Detroit this? Where's your head go to first in this matchup?
So the main one here for me, I feel like this is an obvious one, and if it's not, but I'm going to bring this to light.
No, dude.
Is our defensive line and like that linebacker, that front 7 there, up against the running game.
Kenneth Walker, K9, and Zach Charbonnet. Because last year, I have some stats here. I got in my flannel bag. I love saying that. I love getting in the flannel bag. Oh, let me put the bag on. Last year, Rashad Penny, 17 carries, 151 yards, 9 yards per carry. Geno Smith, 7 carries, 49 yards, 7 yards per carry. That cannot happen if you want to win. And Aaron Glenn came out today, which I don't think we the other day he said. It was yesterday.
Yeah, and then that thing where he was like, it's in the back of my head for sure.
Yeah.
He remembers all of that. This linebacking core, they remember that. I promise you they did not forget that. The defensive line, they didn't forget that. And I want to give one more stat. One more stat. Let me get my stat bag.
Give me the stats.
Last year, the Detroit Lions, rushing, what they gave up. They held the Giants to 89 rushing yards, Green Bay to 100, Jacksonville 95, the Jets to 50, and the Minnesota Vikings and Dalvin Cook to 22 rushing yards. This is all in the second half of the season. This is that new Lions that went 8-2. And yes, we could sit here and be like, yeah, what about Chicago with Justin Fields? What about Carolina with Dante Foreman and them? Yes, I get that. This is all new, and Aaron Glenn knows that, and that's why Aaron Glenn, he has 4 elite linebackers, and now he has depth at the defensive line. They stop the run Sunday, they win this game by 2 touchdowns.
Let's go.
You stop the run, you win this game by a lot. That's the Booner guarantee there.
That's how we lost last time. We didn't stop the run.
That is the formula to winning.
That's a formula I
Brought
like to hear.
Brought to you by Booner.
I got to take one right out of the page of the Los Angeles, though. Thank you for that $2 donation. We really appreciate it. He says, or she says, we will have St. Brown this time. I'm going to go towards the Lions wide receiver and tight end group, excuse me, everybody, versus the Seattle Seahawks secondary. And I guess you could throw in their linebacker crew like Bobby Wagner covering maybe Sam Laporta, James Mitchell, Brock Wright out of that tight end group. But these wide receivers, we saw Josh Reynolds step up in the Kansas City Chiefs game. We saw Amon-Ra St. Brown step right back into where he left off in the 2022 season, catching, I think it was 4 or 5 of his 6 passes in the Chiefs game in that first quarter, including a touchdown. So I want to see what they do going up against a depleted Seattle Seahawks secondary. You talked about Jamal Adams still isn't back yet. Devon Witherspoon has been battling a hamstring injury. We all know how hard it is to run backwards with a hamstring injury, and he's going up against Amon-Ra St. Brown, Khalif Raymond, Marvin Jones, Josh Reynolds, we said. Maybe maybe, and I do think this is going to happen. I hope it happens. We see some Antoine Green this game. I thought when Jahmyr Gibbs was out of the Chiefs game, the Detroit Lions offense lacked an explosive player, that explosive threat, whether it's out of the backfield or in the slot or on the outside. They needed at least that threat, and we saw Antoine Green in the preseason game against Carolina take 170 yards to the house, so he has that in him. He's dressed, he's active. I don't know, we may see some Antoine Green.